Hey everyone, Jeff Risdon here with the Daily DLP. It is Friday. We made it to Friday, February 20th. Going to talk about some draft prospects today as we get ready for the Combine. I'm actually leaving for the Combine. I'll be there in Indianapolis early tomorrow, and we'll be there for a while. I'm actually getting there a little bit ahead of time. I have some things going on, and we'll get extra prep for the Combine and extra time talking to a few people before everything kicks off, and I'm excited about that. Had an idea of something that has come out with Daniel Jeremiah's press conference yesterday that he did. There seems to be a lot of interest in what's going on with the number 17 pick, so I thought for the Lions Daily today that we would talk about the 5 most likely candidates to be pick number 17 as we enter the Combine. They might not be the same in a week and a half, and I will probably update that and talk about that once everything's over. But right now, based on all the projections that are out there from national analysts, from local analysts, from just the general consensus of where players are perceived to be as we enter the Combine, and again, that's subject to change. Could change quite a bit in some cases. But right now, I've got these 5 guys. If I can find the slide. Let me pull them up here. All right. We've got these couple of usual suspects in Auburn edge, Keldric Faulk, who we've talked about a lot on this program as a just ideal sort of crush the can style edge rusher that the Lions have really sought to build with Aidan Hutchinson over the years. Georgia offensive tackle Monroe Freeling, who was the flavor of the day yesterday, thanks to Daniel Jeremiah. Blake Miller, who was mentioned in the same breath as Freeling. He is an offensive tackle, right tackle from Clemson, who is steadily gaining momentum as we approach the Combine. Clemson's his teammate, edge TJ Parker, who had a fantastic Senior Bowl and is seeming to recoup some of the draft stock that he had lost. And then there's Alabama's Kaden Proctor, who still gets mocked consistently high, even though I'm not necessarily a fan of that. Can't ignore it. So let's handle these guys in alphabetical order. But that's the 5 that we're going to talk about today. And let's bring up Faulk first because, again, he's the obvious one. Did him as prospect of the day a few weeks ago. Look, he absolutely fits exactly what the Lions have wanted at edge. He's long, he's strong, he's power to speed, he can crush the can. Exceptional athlete, exceptional football character. He is a team captain. He was universally lauded by all of his teammates and coaches, and scouts who have been to Auburn have just talked up like this is the kind of dude that you want to build your culture around. This is a culture builder, a tone setter, and that clearly is something that matters to these Lions. He is cut from their cloth, the grit cloth, as we often say around in Lions land. He's not super twitchy, and to this point, he hasn't been very productive with his pass rush. He's 20 years old. He did show signs of getting off of outside blocks and getting to the quarterback a little bit better as his final season at Auburn went on. One thing with him in his last year, they played him a lot more. They basically played a 3-man front, and he played end in a 3-man front instead of a 4-man front, which means that he was naturally dealing with a lot of just extra blockers. He's in the B gap where the guard and the tackle can get at him without having to reach him. And that clearly slowed down his progress. He does have some pass rush moves, but he's never going to be the twitchiest dude. So playing him outside more, again, he very, very favorably compares to Levi Onwuzurike athletically as to what he offers in terms of positional value for the Lions. So I still think, again, this is just my assessment, that if they go defense at 17 and he's there, he's the guy. Again, it's early. Combine hasn't happened yet. We will learn a lot more about it. But going into the Combine, if they're not taking an offensive tackle, I would be almost surprised if Keldric Faulk isn't their pick. Doesn't necessarily mean that I endorse it, by the way. There are a couple of other players that if they're available, I would certainly take them ahead of Faulk. He is my number 22 overall player. So that would be a bit of a reach on it. I forgot to mute my phone. Rookie mistake. My bad. Back to it. I do these in one take. I don't like to edit. I've done it a few times. It's a lot easier to just roll and go. On to the next one. My guy Russ Brown's favorite player in this draft for Detroit, Monroe Freeling. Daniel Jeremiah's, gushed over him and his potential, and we've done Freeling as a prospect of the day. Left tackle, has played a little bit of right tackle. 6'7", 315, good length, good athlete. Progressively grew as a pass protector. You see the technical things. You see, just there's a lot to like with Monroe Freeling. There really is. Very good at staying square to the guy that's trying to beat him, and that is important. That is something that most of the elite pass protecting tackles in football have. If you want to, I don't want to compare him to him because they're built quite differently. But one of the things that made Jake Matthews really, really impressive as a prospect was dude was always square with his shoulders and hips and feet. They were always aligned with the pass rusher coming at him from whatever angle it was. Freeling can do that. And I know that's something that the Lions do take into consideration. There are some issues with his technical work, specifically in the run game. He lunges a lot more than he actually attacks. He's one of those guys where his hands are going to be in here instead of out here. He's going to lean in and try to bump you, and instead of attacking with the long arms and surging you out of the way. That's all over his tape. He does wind up on the ground a fair amount. Quite a bit more than the other tackles that we're going to talk about here. There's two of them, two other ones that come on with Miller and Proctor. But base and under, he doesn't have great power. Now he is more powerful than, just as an example, Caleb Lomu from Utah, who is a prospect that I think that the Lions, I think he's not going to be a top 25-ish pick. Maybe this week changes that. I don't know. He was who I had as the tackle when I did a mock draft for the Lions. I don't think the NFL sees him that highly, and I'm not sure that the Lions will either because he is underpowered. And he is also a developmental project, but he's also 24 years old, whereas Monroe Freeling is still young, just a pup. He's certainly someone that's in play. Blake Miller, I haven't written him up yet. He will be one of the prospects of the day that we do soon. I like him a lot. He is a 4-year starter at right tackle for Clemson. Started day one from his freshman season. He's the only player ever to do that. Offensive lineman, start freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior years. He's a really solid prospect. His technique got a lot better in his senior season. He used to be scatter shot in his hand placement, getting out into space. He would tend to oh crap, that was the guy. Oh man, he got a lot better at finding his targets and engaging his targets from a position of strength and balance. It's still not ideal, but he got a lot better at it. He brings some snarl. He's not the most powerful guy either, but he definitely has more power than Freeling does as a run blocker, especially when he's going up against a lined up tight defensive end. Whether it's a heads up or they're bringing somebody in or looping around. He's very good at picking up twists and stunts. Very smart guy. Has some decent recovery athleticism. Very, very open field fast for a tackle. I know that doesn't really matter a lot, but it shows that he is a pretty dynamic athlete. And I loved his improvement I started watching him a little bit at the beginning of the 2024 season because he's starting at Clemson at on good football teams at Clemson with high expectations that early, like you're gonna write him down and pay attention to him. And his technical prowess has gotten so much better over the last 2 seasons that he should be in play for the Lions at 17 or other teams that are picking in the teens. I don't think that most draft analysts are there with Blake Miller yet. We will see how that shakes out after the coming week. Again, that's everything gets couched in this one with it's before the combine, and things do change at the combine, no doubt about it. We'll get to I'll do Kaden Proctor next, even though he's not alphabetically next, because I am not his biggest fan. To be kind, he was in the 70. I think he's 79 overall for me, and quite frankly, that's me giving him the benefit of the doubt from some scouts that I trust, including Scott Benedetto, who scouted for the Browns for many years, who is a massive fan and thinks that the Lions should take him at 17. I disagree, but I'm not going to say that he's crazy or wrong about it because we don't know. He does fit a few things that the Lions do like. He's massive, and he has the planet theory thing working for him that Giovanni Manu did that really attracted Manu to Brad Holmes, the Lions general manager. And that dudes that big shouldn't be able to move that way. There aren't many of them. And Proctor is a very good athlete for a guy who is 6'8", and has played in. I'm gonna guess that he weighs in at 355 this coming week. Might be a little lower. We'll see. I don't know, but he's played some tight end, believe it or not, for Alabama. I'm not a fan of his blocking style. He is very much a passive catch blocking guy. What I mean by that is he's going to expose his chest on the outside with his arms out here, making himself as wide as he can be, and dare the defensive end to get through him instead of firing his arms out proactively. That is, Alabama has gotten away from that some. That used to be a huge characteristic of all of their offensive. They have a different coach now under Kalen DeBoer, and they've gotten away from that, but he still does it. And that leads to problems at the NFL level with guys who can beat you either way, especially if you're out there on an island. It's not an advantageous position. He can be very upright. He tends to not follow he doesn't follow his blocks with his feet very well, which is weird because he's a very good athlete for what he brings. There is definitely a lot of technical cleanup that needs to happen for Kaden Proctor to be a successful NFL player, but the traits are there. Again, the planet theory with the size, like dude is impressive. Plays in Alabama. You know that Brad Holmes has a thing for Alabama players. There's a pipeline there. There's the very well established scouting prowess there. You can't rule him out. You can't. Having said that, I do think that he's going to be a guy that loses some luster in the coming week because I don't think that his on-field workout for the offensive line is going to look that great compared to some of the other guys in terms of what they're actually asked to do football-wise. Like as far as like the shuttle and if he runs a 40, if he does any of the metric testing, he'll probably do pretty well. But I'm not a fan of him, but again, can't rule out that he's going to be the pick. And then there's TJ Parker, and I am going to cheat a little bit and make him the prospect of the day as well, just because I didn't want to bring up another guy who's like we're talking prospects. Let's go with one. TJ Parker, Clemson defensive end, your prospect of the day today. Let me zap Freeling out of here. He is someone that if you would have told me in September, before the college season really got started, that he would be potentially available at 17, I'd have laughed in your face and said, run that freaking card up, Brad. Not a chance in the world he's going to be there, because going into the 2025 college season, after what he did in 2024, TJ Parker was very clearly one of the biggest candidates to be the first defensive player taken in the draft. The first non-quarterback or offensive lineman taken in the draft. Fantastic 2024 season. I got the stats right here. 20 tackles for loss, 11.5 sacks, 6 forced fumbles. 5 of those were strip sacks. Incredible. And then, like most of the rest of the Clemson team, he just wasn't as good in 2025, and he lost a lot of the luster. It looked like he gained some weight. Not a lot, but enough that it slowed him down. And he is a power to speed rusher, primarily. Sets a very good edge. Powerfully built dude at 6'3" and change, 263. Senior Bowl, he looked fantastic. He looked much more like the 2024 version than the 2025 version. And that has gotten people excited again. Brought up Daniel Jeremiah earlier, how he gushed over Freeling. Well, in his current mock draft, he's got TJ Parker to the Lions at 17. So that's what we do in the draft industry. We cover our bases because we don't know. We don't know. We're just giving you the information and the best way that we can process it at the time. It wouldn't surprise me if the Lions liked TJ Parker a lot. I do think that they would like Faulk more. Parker is, again, he's not stiff, but he's not bendy, especially going around the outside. He tries to compensate by taking really short steps, which can impair your balance. If there's if an offensive, let's say he's rushing against his teammate Blake Miller, and he gets him initially around the outside. Blake Miller has enough recovery athleticism that he can at least push Parker wider and higher and give your quarterback some time to find, whereas Faulk tends to go through those guys a little bit better. Plays the ball very well. He can actually drop out into space. He's shown that he can anticipate screens. He picks up pullers well and stacks and sheds them well. Doesn't stay blocked off the snap very well. Biggest thing that I noticed with him from 2024 to 2025, he wasn't as dynamic off the snap. He is a guy that doesn't always get off the snap with everybody else. He can be just a half count late, and that matters in the NFL. Ask Josh Paschal. Ask Kayvon Thibodeau, who has a problem with that. Yeah. So Parker is he is one of the variables in this draft, because right now most analysts, and I'm included in this, see him as being a guy that's going to go like 25 to 40. But his Senior Bowl week was like, oh, we might have this guy back. This might be the guy we thought he was. And if the Lions harken back to 2024 and watch his film and he resembles that and tests well, you can't rule him out either. He is certainly a very interesting prospect. High end, but fairly boom bust, in my opinion anyways. We'll see what happens with TJ Parker. But that's the 5 going into the combine. We'll see how much that changes in the coming days. And I will try to keep updated on what I learn and what I don't learn throughout the combine time. But we will not have a daily on Saturday. Busy day for me. We will have one every other day. I already have a couple of guests lined up. There might actually be days where you have 2 or 3 videos from me. So make sure you like and subscribe so you know when these are coming out, because they're not necessarily going to be on a set schedule. You might get multiple in one day, and you won't want to miss them, because we're going to have a lot of fun at the Combine. It's one of my favorite weeks of the year, and I get to hang out with a lot of very interesting people. I'm actually doing a little bit of a project this year that's more behind the scenes that should help me get a lot more insight on the league as a whole in terms of draft perceptions. So it's going to be fun. If you're a draft nut, you're going to want to like and subscribe and follow everything that I write here. At Real GM, I will have daily reports. I will have stuff at the Big Lead, which has been nice enough to adopt me into their fold as well. So that's it. Jeff Risdon signing out. Be good to one another.